Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Thought Game Channel. I'm AJ Gels, guys. It is once again time for the weekly show. I'm sorry, just realized I did that entire intro and my voice had zero inflection in it. Either way, this is my weekly show. I sit here, I talk about video game news. I pretty much just read articles, give my opinions on them, all that goodness. Sorry, I'm kind of tired. I got same thing that's been going on for weeks at school. Let's just leave it at that. Before we hop into the news, though, I am going to say this. I for the past while, I have been meaning to watch that Nintendo Switch debut, whatever stage show, and I keep just not having time to do it. I'm gonna cancel that video that I said I was gonna do, but instead I'm gonna direct you go down into the description below. I will have two links to a video over on Kind of Funny. Colin Moriarty is doing this weekly thing. Colin was right. He's two videos where he talks about the Nintendo Switch. For the vast majority, I agree with him. Like the 99.9%. I agree with Colin Moriarty. So I would definitely go check out those links in the description and go check out his videos on that and his opinions. So there we go. That's the plan. Now into the news. Our first article comes by way of IGN from Matt Porter, entitled Nintendo of America co-founder Alan Stone dies at age 71. The article reads, Alan Stone, longtime member of the games industry and one of the co-founders of Nintendo of America, has passed away at age 71. According to obituaries on Gamasutra and Intergame, Stone passed away on Friday after a battle with cancer. Alan Stone co-founded Far East Video with Ron Judy in order to bring Nintendo's early coin-op games to the U.S., introducing the likes of Radar Scope and Donkey Kong to an untapped audience. Following their success, he co-founded Nintendo of America and was involved with the development of the Nintendo Family Computer, soon to become the NES. In 1994, Stone left Nintendo and became the president and CEO of Sega Enterprises for over 10 years. He then went on to work at various companies in California, including time as COO of Nanotech Media. Everyone here at IGN would like to extend our deepest condolences to Alan Stone's family and friends at this time. Obviously, that was the end of their article, and if I would also like to extend my thoughts, prayers, what have you. I know it's always sad to kind of start with, this person died story, but this week I didn't have any tech news, and I like to share these just because I don't want to say there's no good way to say this. It's one of those. I think it is important to recognize these people when they pass, and it's respectful to them. So. There we go. Next one. Again, actually, another death story. Which this one's a little more interesting. Not to take away from Mr. Stone, but this one is just a little interesting. Article coming to us by way of IGN. Let's see here. Twitch streamer dies during charity marathon. Article by Wesley Copeland of IGN. Let's see here. The article reads, Twitch streamer Brian PoShYbRiD, I have no idea how to pronounce / read that. I've never heard of this guy. Brian, it's spelled PoShYbRiD. I know, I'm sorry, I don't know all the Twitch streamers. Vigneault, Jesus Christ, was pronounced dead at the scene after stepping away from a 24-hour charity stream for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I apologize. I was not trying to disparage this man's death and whatever, but I just cannot pronounce his name. I get exacerbated when I can't do this shit like that. All right, moving on. The 35-year-old World of Tanks player was found dead on Sunday evening at his home in Virginia Beach, Virginia. PvP Live reports Vigneault left the live stream at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a smoke. Polygon has since spoken to Virginia Beach police, who said that they were called to Vigneault's home around an hour later to aid an unresponsive individual. That was in quotes. Vigneault regularly hosted charity events for various organizations with 100% of the proceeds going to the designated charity. According to his profile page, Vigneault has raised over $10,000 for various veterans and children's charities. Police are currently investigating the death, but have said, and I quote, "There is no reason at this time to suspect foul play," end quote. Vigneault's gaming clan Fame posted the following statement on Facebook, and I quote, "Sad news from Virginia Beach, one of our most famous NA streamers and a member of our clan, PoShYbRiD, has passed away at the age of 35. We just cannot find words to describe how sad this moment for all of us, and for sure this game will not be the same without the legend. Maybe the saddest lines cannot really be written, and the saddest thoughts cannot really be uttered. Let's all hope that he's in a better place right now, and may his soul rest in peace." Let's see here. He will never be forgotten. ... A person who stays in our hearts never dies. End quote. A GoFundMe page has been set up with the money going to Vigneault's 3 children and family. World of Tanks publisher Wargaming.net released the following statement, and I quote, "Wargaming is saddened to hear of the loss of the streamer and tanker Brian Vigneault, aka PoShYbRiD, a devoted player of World of Tanks and contributor to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We offer our most sincere condolences to his family and friends during this difficult time." End quote. Yeah, I have no idea. This is just like the year of weird deaths. Because it was the guy who played Chekhov in the new Star Trek. It was either Chekhov or Sulu, and I think it was Chekhov, who died by his car rolling backwards onto him in his driveway. I know, not comparable, but you know what I'm getting at. This has just been maybe that was a lot longer ago than I think it was. I don't know. I could be losing my mind. Either way, I really hope that there is no foul play. I really hope that. Well, it sounds mean to say I hope it was natural causes, but I hope that you know what I mean. That this was not any sort of conspiracy or whatever. I hope that this moves on. The family can grieve. And again, as I always say whenever I talk about a story like this, my condolences to the family, and I hope any of you would also pass yours along. All right, now moving into some more fun stuff, and I guess appropriately, after talking about people dying, I'm going to start talking about a zombie game. I really need to think this stuff through. Article is Dead Rising 4 shuffles onto Steam in March. I feel like a shithead now. Article on Eurogamer.net by Wesley Yinpool. Like I said, Eurogamer. The article reads, Dead Rising 4 comes out on Steam on 14th March. Capcom has announced the Zombie Kill 'Em Up launched as an Xbox title exclusive on Xbox One and Windows Store late 2016. The Steam release, which costs €39.99, includes, that's pounds, includes the X-Fist's exosuit weapon. The specs are below. Dead Rising 4 minimum system requirements: CPU Intel i5 2400, AMD FX 6300, RAM 6 gigabytes, GPU GTX 760 2 gig. 2 gig, 8 or HD 78. God, I can never read computer specs. HD 7850. 2 gigabytes, DX DirectX 11, OS Windows 10, storage 50 gigabytes, and the Dead Rising 4 recommended system requirements are the CPU Intel i7 3770, AMD FX 8350, RAM 8 gigabytes, GPU GTX 970 4 gig, R9 294 gig, DX DirectX 11, OS Windows 10, and storage 50 gig. That's the basics. I enjoyed Dead Rising 4. You can go check out the Let's Play. Overall, I think this one felt like it was a way to try and pull new fans in. It didn't feel like the old ones, because like the big psycho battles weren't there. Just the element of time wasn't there. It was a different game from how you can really feel the evolution. I think this is where Dead Rising has been shifting. And it fits a little bit better with me in a gameplay perspective, because it handles really well. It's really fun to play. The combo weapons, the environments and all this. It's just, I think it kind of has pulled too far away from what it was in the original. And then I think it really nailed the combination between the gameplay and the concept in 2. I think it took a step away from it in 3. And I think 4 is the next logical step in that continuum. Who knows? We'll see if they keep it up when Dead Rising 5 comes out. If it comes out, I bet it will. Either way, moving on. Mortal Kombat co-creator on possibility of Street Fighter crossover. I'd hate to have to entertain it. IGN Unfiltered. Article by Alex Osborne. Obviously, IGN. Article reads, NetherRealm Studios creative director Ed Boon recently spoke to the possibility of a Mortal Kombat vs. Street Fighter game, noting that while there would be many hurdles to overcome, if Capcom approached him about a crossover, he'd, and I quote, have to entertain it, end quote. And I quote, there's part of me that likes it, end quote. And I quote, there's part of me that that's like, that would be such a cool dream, and then there's another part of me that goes, there's no way would that satisfy everybody, end quote. Boone said on the latest episode of our monthly interview show, IGN Unfiltered. The Mortal Kombat co-creator went on to explain that even if the game was rated M and they could, and I quote, tear Ryu's head off, end quote, it would still be difficult to make a successful crossover because of how differently the two games play. And I quote, there's different pacing, there's different fundamentals with both of them, end quote, Boone said. He also cited Street Fighter Tekken crossover as an example of how, with a fighting game crossover, and I quote, one of the licenses is going to have to sacrifice something, end quote. And in the case of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, he said, and I quote, I don't know if we'd be able to find that sweet spot, end quote. When asked how he would respond if Capcom called tomorrow with an offer to have NetherRealm develop a Street Fighter Mortal Kombat crossover, he said he'd, and I quote, have to entertain it, end quote, noting they'd probably do a whole ton of research with Street Fighter players. And I quote, probably do a whole ton of research with Street Fighter players, end quote, to learn what they would want from the game. What would you like to see the crossover, blah, blah, blah. You want to go comment on the article, there will be a link down in the description. Now, this is an interesting thing, just because of how vastly different the audiences for Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are. I think making the crossover between Street Fighter and Tekken is a much easier thing. And if anybody out there knows more about fighting games, I am not a fighting game aficionado. I mean, I know personally I like Mortal Kombat, but that's because I'm more of a casual player. I like the stories. I love Johnny Cage. I love that shitty movie that they made all the way back when. I'm sorry, I'm speaking really quickly. But Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are so vastly different. And I think Tekken is kind of that center point where between the kind of craziness and kind of arcadey, easy to understand Mortal Kombat compared to the more sophisticated, competitive-based Street Fighter. So I think the Street Fighter Tekken crossover would work a lot better than a Street Fighter Mortal Kombat connection, or crossover. Although, who knows? Like I said, I don't know that much about the fighting games. I don't know what would go into it. I think it could be cool because, again, I like the Mortal Kombat characters. The Street Fighter characters are interesting. And, the fatalities would be interesting, especially because if we're going to do two different art styles, that might be... There's a lot of interesting stuff that could go into that project. But the problem is, like he said, is finding that sweet spot that can retain both core groups of players, because I think all I can really do is kind of bounce off of what he said, because I think he was dead on by saying that it's going to be so hard to find that sweet spot between the two games to retain Street Fighter players and to retain Mortal Kombat players. Because if you make it too much like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat players aren't going to like it. But if you make it too much like Mortal Kombat, I don't think Street Fighter fans are going to like it. So it's a weird middle ground area that they're going to have to find if this project wants to proceed, or I guess proceed, or I think even get started is the correct term, because I think that this has easily, from the wording, it is not even in production or even in thought or concept right now. It's one of those, what if scenarios, as far as I can understand. Next article, PSVR exclusive Here They Lie update adds standard PS4 and PS4 Pro support. Article by Alex Osborne, IGN. 2016's horror adventure Here They Lie will no longer be a PSVR exclusive title, thanks to a new update rolling out today that adds support for standard PlayStation 4 and PS4 Pro play. And I quote, Here They Lie will be updated on February 21st to be playable without a PSVR headset, the standard version, end quote, creative director Corey Davis said on the PlayStation blog. Sorry. Those who already own the game for PSVR will automatically receive the update via a downloadable patch. Meanwhile, those who have not yet purchased a game and do so after February 21st will receive both the VR and standard versions of Here They Lie. Today also brings with it a PS4 Pro patch for the game that adds 4K and HDR support to the standard version, as well as, and I quote, an all-around higher quality render mode for PS4 Pro on PSVR. That adds, and I quote, better shadows, post-processing effects, dynamic flashlight shadows, and ambient occlusion. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. End quote. Other additions include a chapter select and controller configuration screens, as well as subtitles for the standard version, improved head tracking for the PSVR version, and more, according to developer Tangletemans. Jesus Christ. Ten Gentlemen's, I think that's how that is, announcements. Players will be able to switch between the standard and PSVR versions of the game seamlessly. Here They Lie released on PSVR this past October for blah blah blah, IGN's review. There's a hyperlink in the article. Go to the link down in the description, then you follow the hyperlink. Not much I can say about this because I do not know enough about Here They Lie. It's a PSVR title. I can't comment on that because I don't own a PSVR. Although I would be interested to hear whether or not this was a decision on the studio's part or if Sony wanted this to happen. Because I mean, if this was a decision on the studio's part, good for them. They're just thinking, hey, if we roll this out to standard and PS4 Pro, we're probably going to make more money. We open it up to a broader audience, this, that, the other thing. Or then we have the issue, but then it's kind of the same. It's a similar thing if Sony says, hey, make this into a PS4, make a standard PS4 and PS4 Pro version. Same thing, the studio puts stuff out, probably will get more sales and whatnot. The thing is, though, I think if Sony asked for it, it kind of diminishes, or how to put this, people have been kind of questioning Sony's, don't want to say dedication, but I think that's the best word I'm going to find right now, to the PS4, or to the PlayStation VR, just because it doesn't seem like it's really trying to sell VR right now. It's selling games, and it's this, that. It's kind of like what they did with the Vita. PlayStation Now is shutting down. PlayStation just seems to be making some weird moves. PlayStation just, for me, or a lot of people have said this. Again, I'd suggest listen to PS I Love You XOXO every week on Tuesdays for PlayStation news. Two great guys, understand PlayStation much better than I probably ever will. Talk about PlayStation. But from everything I've heard from them and from what I've gleaned, is really PlayStation just kind of keeps, I'll use the expression 2 steps forward, 1 step back. They'll make a few really good changes or things, and then they'll just make a really weird decision that might not hurt them, but it probably won't make them much money. So overall, I'd be interested to see if this was a studio decision or a Sony decision, but I have no information on that, so I cannot definitively say and comment. Next article comes by way of Polygon by Colin Campbell. Bethesda's Todd Howard is reaching for the future of RPGs. Sorry. The article reads, tomorrow night, Bethesda's Todd Howard will be inducted into the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame. It's a fitting honor for a developer who has steered two of the most esteemed game series, The Elder Scrolls and Fallout. His most recent work, Skyrim 2011 and Fallout 4 2015, are highly regarded role-playing explorations of a fantasy world of dragons and a post-apocalyptic zone of decay and dastardly conspiracies. Both were critical and commercial successes. Skyrim particularly seemed to catch its moment, while RPGs were once a niche entertainment for relatively small numbers of adherents. Jeez. Bethesda's dragon-slaying magical exploration game punched through the mainstream media and meme status. He says the game's high-profile success caught him by surprise. And I quote, "I don't know how it happened," he said. We could feel it when it crossed over to being referred on television and other places. It's nothing we could ever plan for. It just kind of happened. Certain things came together, people's mood, timing, vibe, marketing, all of it. but it happened very quickly, almost as soon as the game was out, end quote. Howard believes the elevated statuses of RPGs is due to the fact that so many games now borrow some of the genre's fundamentals, such as NPC interactions, exploration, character upgrades, and strong story. But the big breakthrough comes from freedom of movement. Video games, and I quote, video games put you in a different place, he says. They do geography so well, we can put the player anywhere and the player can do anything. Open world games have gotten more popular, so we have to think about creating these kinds of interactivity that makes you feel like you're really in the world. We want to avoid activities that feel too gamey and that take you out of the story, end quote. Before I keep going on with this, I've been thinking this recently, and again, kind of funny beat me to it, but I'm going to talk about it here on my show. I think Bethesda really needs to be careful, and this is going to sound super weird. I think they're going to have to change up their formula a little bit with Elder Scrolls 6, because I think that's their next big game. Just because, I liked Fallout 4. I thought it was a really good game. I think I scored it an 8 out of 10. But my thing is, he's talking about innovation. It just feels bigger. It's just like, well, here's a bigger map. All right, the game itself really hasn't changed. Graphically, if you ask me, those things, they aren't super impressive. Which, yes, I understand. It's very hard. There's a lot of moving pieces in a Fallout game. But still, the fact that your games look like they're... And again, this was my problem with Sniper Elite 4. It always seemed like the graphics were like a generation behind. It feels weird when it's surrounded, when you surround their stuff with other really beautiful looking games. But I understand they're different, and yes, and again, I don't want to step on any hardcore Bethesda fans' toes, because I am a Bethesda fan. I love Fallout 4. I love the Skyrim and all this. I just think Bethesda needs to watch out, or else what hit BioWare is going to hit them. Granted, I don't think they had the release schedule kind of like BioWare did, or like BioWare did, because BioWare kind of did one game after another in pretty quick succession, while Bethesda kind of takes its time. So it's kind of it's a little different, but I think they need to be careful of that, of what BioWare did, because BioWare, the thing with BioWare, obviously, I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about this, but the thing with BioWare games is the fact that there's the equation to them, the equation between, it's always how character interactions work. It's such an equation that you can just, as soon as you understand it, you can romance any character. Yes, I understand, whatever. But it's combat. It's this. It's just they all feel kind of the same, which is why I'm really glad that BioWare kind of took its kicks, and with the new Mass Effect game, they are trying to do something a little different. Like they're getting rid of the Paragon Renegade and replacing it with more of like a kind of a tonal system. As far as I can understand, it's going to be similar to Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm kind of going in media blackout mode with Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm trying to kind of stay away from all of it, and so I can be really surprised March 21st when it comes out. Either way, that's neither here nor there. What I was talking about, like the tonal system with not Andromeda, but with Dragon Age Inquisition. The thing was, you kind of made your dialogue decisions based on tone, that you wanted to convey to people, and then certain people responded certain ways to the tone that you use. As far as I can see, Andromeda is using a similar system to that. It may be a little bit more evolved, but I really like that concept. I think Fallout 4 made a really bad mistake to pull out the karma system. Because then at the point it doesn't matter what I'm doing anymore. It's like I can kill everyone, I can steal everything. It has no real negative effects on the game, which I think that was a poor choice on their part. But I'm nitpicking. I'm getting into some weird tangential crap. Long and short, I think that Bethesda needs to watch its back and be really careful not to keep doing the same thing but bigger. I'd like to see some different some different innovations in its gameplay and in its systems and its kind of equation. Either way, that's my 2 cents, and I rambled for a little bit. Sorry. Let's see here. The article continues. While open world games have been the engine of role playing's growth, the genre's continued success will rely on solving a much trickier problem. Character interactions, RPGs, can still throw up jarring encounters with NPCs who skirt the uncanny valley. Howard says Fallout 4's dog and robot were his favorite characters, and I quote, "I think we have a very long way to go in the other characters, in how the other characters act and react to you. That's the big issue we're trying to solve. We're pretty good at pushing technology and world building. We have a good handle on game flow, the rate you get new things, how you're rewarded over time, but we need to be innovating on characters." End quote. Although Bethesda's RPGs do feature their fair share of fighting critters and clearing rooms, he's proud the moral choices posted in Fallout 4, particularly in terms of the big twists and the various factions at play. And I quote, "We're pretty good at asking those moral questions. We need to get better at letting the player deliver answers to them." End quote. Now, right there, it's talking about the more when I was saying that they pulled the karma system. I'm talking about the general karma system. The fact that you steal something that it goes that way, and when you do something good, it goes the other way. With that, when they're talking about the moral question, it's how the ending works. If you watch my Let's Play, when I eventually get to it, you'll see what he means by that. But right there, it was saying that. I don't get why the dog and the robot were his favorite characters in Fallout. That was kind of weird. I mean, I like the dog. The dog worked well. It worked. You know, you could. There was the glitch to get that freeze gun. But I mean, there are a few things with the dog that was pretty interesting. That he acted differently from the other NPCs. But I mean, I think if you're talking about robot, Codsworth, I didn't think Codsworth was that unique compared to everyone else. He was just kind of weird and quirky. But other than that, I think that is something that I think Bethesda themselves needs to really work on, is just the interaction, because it feels really robotic, and they're I don't know. I think that though that's an RPG thing in general, that sometimes those NPCs who are giving you side quests do tend to feel a little bit more robotic and beep beep beep, Either way, continuing on. As far as future projects, Howard is tight-lipped. He says the company's next games will please fans, but offer few specifics other than generally praising Fallout 4 and VR, mobile game The Elder Scrolls Legends, and Skyrim coming to Nintendo Switch. On the latter, he, and I quote, "can't say whether the original Skyrim or the 2015 remaster will be released. We do know that Bethesda is working on two bigger projects, but Howard offers no specifics." Specifics. The Elder Scrolls 6 is also working its way through development, but it's unlikely to be seen anytime soon. So far as the future goes, Howard says he just wants to carry on doing what he does, and I quote, "There's a long way to go. We have so many ideas, and we don't think we were ready for that we didn't think we were ready for." There we go. But given our size now and how the tech is coming together, we can do some of the things that we've talked about for a very long time. Now they are within our grasp. End quote. Again, I could say something about the Switch. My opinions on the Switch. The version of Skyrim, as far as I've heard, was not the remastered, prettier version. It was the base, what was on the 360 and PS3. Again, power of the Switch, yada yada yada. You've heard me drone on for that, so I'm just gonna kind of let it go and just wish best of luck to Todd Howard and Bethesda. There we go. Next article. Square Enix launches new studio, announces new RPG. Article by Wesley Copeland, IGN. Square Enix has announced RPG Project Prelude Rune, along with the formation of a new studio. The new studio, named Studio Estolia, hopefully that is headed by Hideo Baba, who brings 18 plus years of experience to the table. Baba is perhaps best known for the driving force behind Namco's Tales of series. According to Siliconera, the focus of Studio Estolia is to create new IP as well as further existing Square Enix franchises. Baba serves as the producer of Project Prelude Rune and hopes to create a new type of RPG fantasy, one which spans vast landscapes filled to the brim with a plethora a plethora of life. More information about the RPG will be revealed at a later date. Not much to really say about that. I'm always interested when people are going to say that we're going to try and turn the RPG kind of thing, because RPGs are kind of my favorites. I like big expansive stories and all this, so I'm not much to comment in on that story. Next article, how boats aim to make Pillars of Eternity 2 better. Article by Vincent Giannino, IGN. Having reached its initial crowdfunding goal in record time, it would be fair to say that lots of people are excited for Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. Its predecessor was both a critical and commercial success, and we got a chance to chat with its director, Josh Sayer, about one of the biggest new features coming to the RPG sequel, a customizable boat stronghold that will serve as your mobile base throughout the game. And I quote, when we looked at the strongholds from Pillars, that typo or something there, lots of people were disappointed by them, end quote, said Sawyer, geez, I can't read, during our phone interview. And I quote, they didn't really integrate with the story very well, end quote, due to the setting of Deadfire, which is a huge archipelago. It just didn't make sense to him or the team to try and route the player on a single landmass when the game takes place across a bunch of different landmasses separated by water. Players will initially sail on a sloop-style ship created from the trees of Drywood, a location in Deerwood, location in the original game, named the Defiant. This starting ship is capable and unique looking, but several more specialized ships will be earnable as well. The Defiant, and I quote, "The Defiant isn't the fastest. It doesn't have the biggest guns. It's just a good middle of the road option," Sawyer told me. Different boats will be upgradable with different sails, helms, hulls, captain's quarters, and more. One particularly neat upgrade is the onboard menagerie. Players were limited to one pet in Pillars of Eternity, but with the menagerie, you'll be able to house lots of critters who will call your ship home. While Sawyer admits the benefit is, and I quote, mostly cosmetic, end quote, it's a good example of how the team is addressing community feedback in Deadfire, even where little things are concerned. Probably the most interesting new gameplay possibilities come in the form of ship-to-ship encounters, though Sawyer was quick to mention that there aren't any turn-based tactical ship battles. Scripted interactions will allow you to deal with other vessels in a variety of ways. For instance, if you spot a pirate ship a long ways out, you might switch sails in an attempt to trick them into thinking you're a fellow pirate. Pretty sneaky. If you can't escape or fend other ships off, however, the two ships grapple and their respective crews will actually engage in a big intership brawl, complete with enemies and allies leaping from deck to deck, which sounds pretty terrific in theory. All told, Deadfire's mobile seabound strongholds are meant to facilitate the exploration of a world that sounds much larger and much more fully realized than in the original. Sawyer, who helped design Infinity Engine classics like the Icewind Dale series, likened exploration in Deadfire to that of Fallout 1 and 2, where you pick a direction and go rather than choosing between disjointed locales on a map. An exciting prospect like me, you enjoy heading to places you have no business being in yet, just to see what you can get away with. This all sounds cool. The one thing that I didn't like is the fact that there are no turn-based ship battles. But I'm interested. I didn't play the original Pillars. I've seen gameplay of it. I'd go check out Christopher Odd, did a Let's Play of it. Christopher Odd, great YouTuber out there. But I'm definitely going to check this game out when it comes out. Cannot wait. Let's see here. DICE 2017. All future Halo shooters will have split screen support. Article by Alex Osborne of IGN. Normally this wouldn't make it into my lineup, but this is really interesting because I remember way back when playing Halo, split screen like that was the shit. Like I still remember playing with probably my best friend back in high school. Me and him playing Halo 3. split screen co-op. It was that fun. It was near the end when you're driving the Warthog, and you had the oh god, all the flood coming at us. I still remember that moment. That was some weird shit. Either way, article reads, today at DICE 2017, 343 Industries head Bonnie Ross confirmed that all future FPS Halo games will have split-screen multiplayer. During her talk titled, and I quote, Stewards of a Sci-Fi Universe, Ross discussed some of the lessons learned by the studio over the past few years, noting missteps like the rough multiplayer launch of the Master Chief Collection and the lack of split-screen multiplayer in Halo 5 Guardians were, and I quote, incredibly painful for the community, end quote, and for those at 343. With regards to the latter, Ross confirmed that, and I quote, for any FPS going out forward, we will always have split screen. End quote. The lack of split screen support in any of Halo 5's modes received a lot of backlash from the community. At the time, 343 said it was a tough choice that was made so the studio wouldn't have to compromise on Halo 5's, and I quote, massive scale environments, improved AI behavior, increased visual and gameplay fidelity, end quote. She also discussed with the studio's approach to storytelling going forward, saying, and I quote, while we loved our transmedia sometimes, I do think we tell a little bit too much story in our games, end quote. What? So with future Halo titles, Ross said 343 plans to keep the game story simpler and use transmedia to tell the deeper narratives. She used the approach in the recent released Halo Wars 2 as an example of how 343 plans to tell stories in its games going forward. Read IGN's Halo for the... Okay... That's weird, because why would you use Halo Wars 2? Like, I'm not all the way through Halo Wars 2 yet, but, I mean, as far as I can tell, the story's not that enthralling. And when it's talking about transmedia, what the hell what are you talking about with that? I mean, I mean, if it's what I think it is, and she's talking about, like, the Hunt the Truth on, podcast services, go check that out, by the way, if you like Halo. It's a really, really neat podcast. Sorry, my throat's getting dry and I forgot to have my mug. But no, I that's just a really weird thing that you said. We're telling too much story. Really? Again, it's probably my tastes because I'm a story guy with games and all that. I like that nice, meaty story to reward me from going, especially if it's a shooting game where I'm going point A, point B. I like that meaty story to kind of string me through. Either way. Final story of the day. BioShock creator Ken Levine's new studio is named Ghost Story. Article by Lucy O'Brien of IGN. Article reads, after winding down Irrational Games in 2014, co-founder Ken Levine has finally announced the name of his new studio, Ghost Story. Ghost Story is a spiritual successor of sorts to Irrational, the studio behind System Shock 2, Freedom Force, BioShock, and BioShock Infinite. Made up of 12 former employees, a freshly launched website... A freshly launched website explains that the title was chosen because, and I quote, ghost stories are immersive, exciting, and steeped in community. The name reminds us of our mission, end quote. A welcome post elaborates on the mission further, and I quote, Ghost Story was founded by 12 former Irrational Games developers, and our mission is simple, to create immersive, story-driven games for people who love games that ask something of them. While we believe our new games will have a strong appeal to fans of BioShock, our new focus allows us to craft experiences where the gameplay is as challenging as the stories, end quote. Although Ghost Story isn't ready to reveal what it's working on yet, and FAQ reveals its main game will be, and I quote, a new immersive sci-fi game with RPG elements, end quote. In step with remarks Levine made about his next game on Twitter last year. If you were wondering why Irrational Games social accounts remain active, Ghost Story's FAQ section addresses that too. You might have seen continued activity on the Irrational Games Facebook or Twitter accounts. These have remained active because many on our team were key contributing members to BioShock and love engaging with the fan community. That is separate from what we are working on today. We are a new team working on a new game, and we'd like our studio name to reflect that, end quote. For more information, blah, 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 IGN. Now that real quick, that was a little weird thing because I think give me a second. I gotta look this up. I'm making sure I got this correct. Yeah, I thought so. Ken Levine, okay, unless the studio's not working on Perception. I know Ken Levine's involved in that. I don't know his position on it or where exactly he sits inside Perception. That's that first person horror game where you play as a blind person. Can't wait for that. But no, best of luck to Ken Levine and his new studio. And that's all I got for you guys today. I'm sorry if I'm ending it kind of quick. I don't want to go into much analysis on the last one. Like I said, my throat's really actually starting to hurt. And other than that, Facebook, Twitter, the website's in the description, along with links to every article that I talk about, to those 2 Colin Was Right videos, to talk about the Nintendo Switch, time-stamped everything. Other than that, Facebook, Twitter, wait, I already said that. Like, comment if you're not already. Please subscribe to the channel. Son of a bitch. Thanks for watching, everybody. And until next time, I'm AJ Kells. This is the On Third Gaming Channel. I'm out.